There were loud screams coming from your home. I had been away for a fortnight. Only my parents held keys. I did not shout. Instead, I had installed concealed cameras. The moment I left again, I reviewed the recordings and was utterly stunned. Half an hour afterwards, the authorities were called. What you must understand is that I secure my house as if I am bracing for a break-in every single Tuesday. Deadbolt, double-cylinder lock, keypad security, every possible safeguard is in place. This is not paranoia. I frequently travel for work. I work as a consultant. One of those vaguely stressful jobs with countless billable hours, where I dedicate part of my life to managing others' problems, and the other part pretending it does not bother me that I return to an empty apartment, leftover food from last week, and an unpaid electric bill pinned on the fridge by a magnet that says, "Live, laugh, love," in fake script. The irony is clear to me. Anyway, I came back last Sunday after 2 weeks in Denver filled with back-to-back client appointments, 3 days surviving on cold airport sandwiches, and a hotel room that definitely had a bloodstain underneath the armchair. All I craved was a hot shower, a frozen burrito, and to avoid talking to any person until Wednesday. Instead, I encountered Mike. Mike is my neighbor, in his mid-40s, balding in a stubborn way, who pairs socks with sandals and treats mowing the lawn as if it were an event he has prepared for all his life. He is also strangely friendly, which is suspicious on its own. I had merely stepped outside to pick up groceries and barely locked the door behind me. He stood in his driveway, squinting at me as if I were some extraterrestrial who had veered off course. "Hey," he greeted. I responded with a nod. "Hey." Then he gave me a look that was part worry, part bracing himself. "Is everything all right at your place?" I blinked in surprise. "Yeah. Why?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "We have been hearing some noises coming from your house at night." "What kind of noises?" He hesitated, then said, "Screaming." I stared at him, caught off guard. "Sorry, what?" His expression was serious. "Screaming. A couple of nights ago. And before that as well. It was loud enough for my wife to think someone was hurt. We almost called the police." I laughed nervously. Because what else can you do when someone tells you there have been screams heard in your home? "That cannot be," I said. "I have been out of town for 2 weeks. The house was empty." Mike just kept staring at me. Then he slowly nodded, as if humoring me. "If you say so." I shrugged. "I do. Absolutely." He took a step back toward his garage. "Just keep it down next time, all right?" And with that, he left me standing alone on the sidewalk, clutching my keys and trying to wrap my head around the idea that apparently my house had been screaming while I was away. No big deal. I went back inside, locking the door behind me as if that would make a difference. The house was silent. Neat? Perhaps even too neat. I realized it as I passed the hallway. The mirror was cleaner than I remembered, and the floor, my floor, had never shone like that before. I do not polish floors. I just Swiffer them like any ordinary adult who does not. There was no time for perfection. Then upstairs, I saw it. My bed was made, not just hastily done but arranged as if in a hotel. Corners tucked tightly, like a military bed, pillows fluffed, and the blanket folded down at precisely the right angle as if someone had binge-watched cleaning tutorials and decided my bedroom should become some idealized Pinterest scene. That's when unease crept in. Not quite fear, but that subtle nagging feeling that something was wrong. I already suspected who was responsible, so I called my mom. She answered on the second ring, her voice cheerful, which only added to my suspicion. "Hi, sweetheart. How was your trip?" "Fine," I replied. "Quick question. Were you at my place?" She admitted she had stopped by to water the plants. She mentioned, "You really should leave better instructions for the orchids." I had to improvise. Then I asked whether she had made my bed. She laughed and said, "Well, someone had to. You left it a mess." I exhaled deeply. "Mom, I told you before." She interrupted. "Oh, come on. I didn't touch anything else, just the bed. And I vacuumed, wiped down the counters, and even rearranged the spice drawer. You had 3 containers of paprika, Emily." I closed my eyes and asked, "You didn't bring anyone with you, right?" She assured me, "Of course not. Why would I bring anyone? Don't be ridiculous." I didn't argue, not because I believed her, but because I lacked the energy to untangle a lie layered over a cinnamon-scented crime scene and rearranged bedding. After a few minutes of unsolicited cleaning tips and one last reminder, she hung up. I realized I probably should be dating more often because time is not on my side. There is absolutely nothing wrong with engineers. I sat on the edge of the impeccably made bed, gazing at the spotless floor, and sensed my sense of peace beginning to unravel. Later that same day, I went back outside. Reluctantly, but I felt compelled to. Mike was in his garage again, rearranging boxes as if constructing some kind of fortress. I moved cautiously, like someone trying not to frighten a nervous animal. "Hey," I said. He turned to look at me. "Hi." I rubbed my hands together nervously. "Can I ask what exactly you heard coming from my house?" He hesitated for a moment. "I'm not accusing anyone," I quickly added. "I just wasn't there, so I'm trying to understand what happened." Mike looked past me toward my house and then back at me. "There were people," he said, "coming and going, different ones I didn't recognize." "When?" I asked. "A few nights ago, around midnight," he replied. "The night before that, too." I swallowed hard, bracing myself. "And the screaming?" He scratched his beard thoughtfully. "It wasn't yelling or fighting. It sounded like someone was in pain, not typical noise, not something fun." I said nothing. Then he continued, "It's not the first time either. I didn't mention it before, but this also happened back in March. It was not as intense but similar. There was one night around the 10th with loud sounds and people coming and going, and again in early June. I remember because it was the night before my daughter's dance recital." I nodded slowly, even though I felt completely unsteady. Mike's voice softened as he said, "Look, I am not trying to stir up trouble, but whatever is happening over there, it is not nothing." I went back inside, locked the door once again, then took out my planner. On the 10th of March, I was in Atlanta. On the 2nd of June, I was in Denver. My mom had said she only watered the plants, nothing else. Yet, there were people inside my house and screaming while I was hundreds of miles away, believing the house was empty. I was not living alone. I was just the only one paying rent. That night, I did not sleep. I did not check the locks. I did not even brush my teeth. I simply lay in bed, the same bed someone else had made for me, trying not to imagine things I could never forget. The screams, the strangers, the pattern. March, June. Every time I left, something strange happened in my home. The worst part was that I had no clear understanding of what was going on. People coming and going, music blasting, screams piercing the silence, my bed arranged wrong, my floors suspiciously clean. It felt as if someone had scrubbed away the surface of my life and painted another scene underneath, something I was not meant to see. But I had seen it now and could never unsee it. If you want to grasp how all of this began, you need to understand my family. By family, I mostly refer to my parents, my sister, and me. One of these is not like the others. My parents used to be real hippies, not the cute type who makes their own soap and shops at farmers' markets. I mean true hippies with drum circles, herbal tea brewed with questionable ingredients, and group therapy sessions held in some stranger's garage. Before I was born, my mother used to wear a boutique shawl and speak about energy changes. Then she traded the shawl for a position at a shipping company and a two-bedroom apartment in the suburbs. By the way, they never truly forgave me for being the reason they had to grow up and take on responsibility. Throughout my childhood, faint traces of their former lives lingered around us. Books about Tantra lay hidden beneath piles of unpaid water bills, incense holders sat beside tax documents, and a dream catcher hung above the bed in the guest room that nobody was ever allowed to enter. Naturally, their beliefs and philosophy were a big part of home life. They strongly believed in sharing, which sounds wonderful until you grasp what it meant in real life. I came into this world first, and I am 2 years older than my sister. So it made sense for me to have the bigger bedroom initially. That turned out to be my first mistake. Once my sister reached 5, she decided she wanted her room to become a dance studio, a fascination that lasted about 3 weeks. My parents then told me I did not really need all that space since I was not even using it. It would be fairer and nicer if she could use both rooms. This set the tone for everything that followed. Books, I had to share them. Toys, the same rule. My bike? Well, she needed to learn to ride, so naturally she had to have it too. And if I refused to share, I was immediately labeled selfish, controlling, unspiritual, or someone who had not yet let go of a capitalist attachment to possessions. Yes, my father actually said that when I was 8 years old. The sharing was always one-sided. She never had to give anything back. Nothing belonged to me. Not her toys, not her privacy, not even her closet. I was supposed to be the strong one, the generous one, the person who already had enough. So I taught myself to release the idea of fairness, of personal space, and to stop expecting anything genuinely mine until I grew older and grew weary of it. I worked throughout college, finished ahead of schedule, secured a well-paying IT consulting position that aged me by a decade in just a couple of years. By the time I was 29, I had bought my own home. It was not a mansion, but reliable. A house with 3 bedrooms, a small yard, and good sunlight. The kind of place that felt like breathing room after years of being told to move over. My parents disliked it intensely. My mother once said, "You don't even have a family," as though that were some kind of flaw. Why do you need so much space? I kept quiet. By then, my sister Emily had 2 children and was married to a man who wore socks with cartoon characters and called everyone bro. Their smaller house nearby was a project they never truly completed. Every visit from my parents returned with new complaints. "Your sister is drowning in bills. The kids need room to play. It's unfair that you have all of this," they said, though she was struggling. At first, I did what I could. I watched the kids, paid for trips on weekends, helped replace a broken washer once. But none of that satisfied them because what they really wanted, and eventually said, was for me to downsize, sell my house, move somewhere smaller, and give the rest to my sister. Mike said it was fine to leave it at home anyway. Why waste it? I replied no calmly and firmly without feeling guilty, which they did not take well. For some time they stopped speaking to me except through group messages or uneasy family dinners. Then Emily began to soften. One day she unexpectedly called and said, "I've been thinking about your orchids. I would be glad to water them when you go on trips." That marked the beginning. At first, it was just watering the plants. Then it turned into, "I saw the carpet needed vacuuming, so I took care of it. I hope you do not mind." After that, it was, "You really should declutter your entrance." I tidied up a little while I was there. Later, she insisted on making my bed properly. "You're folding the top sheet incorrectly. This is not a hotel," she said. Things got even stranger. One day I returned home to find the spice rack rearranged alphabetically, using Latin rather than English. Another time the kitchen table was cleaned and set with placemats I did not own. I gently asked her to stop, but she said cleaning was her new pastime. She explained, "I have been watching cleaning tutorials." That explained the laundry folded into swan shapes and socks arranged according to chakras. I did not argue because, and I dislike admitting this, part of me appreciated that she was talking to me again, that I had not been completely cut off for refusing to ruin myself financially for the sake of sibling fairness. However, the timing puzzled me. Her new cleaning hobby appeared around the same time Emily moved into a larger home with a backyard and a walk-in wardrobe. A mortgage she certainly could not manage on her own. I recall casually asking once how they pulled it off. My sister simply smiled. We had assistance. From whom? She never said. I did not press because some part of me suspected that if I dug too deeply beneath the surface, I would discover something decaying underneath, something impossible to overlook. I just did not realize how severe it was at that time. Not then. Not yet. I did not want to become the kind of person who installs hidden cameras in her own home. I longed to be ordinary, uneventful. Even the type of woman who says, "Thanks, Mom," when her mother offers to water the plants, and does not wonder if that phrase means something else entirely. The kind of woman who locks the door and trusts that when she returns, the bed will still be made exactly as she left it. But after what Mike told me, the yelling, the strangers, the look he gave me as if I were lying when I said the house was empty, I knew I could no longer be that woman. So, I made up my mind. My next business trip was already set. Boise, for 3 days, a comprehensive rollout meeting with an overseas team. I would be away. The house would be unoccupied, and my mother, who was already familiar with my schedule, would surely find a reason to drop in. Before leaving, I set up 5 cameras. Living room, kitchen, hallway, entryway, bedroom. All small, cloud-based, audio-enabled, discreetly placed inside bookshelves, above cabinets, behind plants. Completely legal. Absolutely necessary. I had no idea what I was going to discover, but I was certain I was finished guessing. The evening before my flight, I messaged my mother, "Hey, heading to Boise tomorrow. If you want to water the plants, thank you, but please do nothing else while I am away. No cleaning, no rearranging, just the plants." She responded, "Ah, I will try not to clean. You know how I am. Safe travels." Usually, such a message would seem harmless from anyone else, but coming from her, it felt like a setup. The first night passed without much happening. She arrived around noon, watered the plants, shifted a framed photo slightly, and wiped a spot on the counter that was perfectly clean before. Irritating, but expected. No shouting, no visitors, just the typical motherly chaos under the guise of helping. That evening, I stayed glued to the hotel room, laptop open, headphones on, anxiety sitting heavy in my throat like a swallowed stone. It was quiet, yet I could not rest. On the second night, about 8 in the evening, I checked the live feed. At first, nothing was moving. The lights were dim and the room still. Then the front door opened and someone walked inside. Not my mother. A broad-shouldered man carrying a duffel bag over one arm moved across the living room confidently as if he had been there many times before. 2 minutes afterward, more people arrived. A woman with a long silver braid holding a bottle of wine, another woman dressed in boots and a bright red shawl, and a man carrying a folding chair. No one knocked or spoke loudly. They all behaved as if they truly belonged there. I stared at the screen without blinking. Then my phone suddenly rang. "Hey, where are you? Our call with the India team started a few minutes ago." Damn. I had completely forgotten because of the time difference. It was morning for them, just another regular Tuesday. For me, it marked the start of something I couldn't quite put into words. I closed the feed, grabbed my work laptop, and joined the Zoom meeting. I won't pretend I recall what the discussion was about. Picture this. You've just seen strangers walk inside your home. Not a neighbor, not a friend, but complete strangers carrying bags, wine, and folding chairs. Now imagine switching windows and pretending to focus on enterprise data syncing while someone named Richishi talks you through a slide deck you don't understand on any normal day. I nodded, smiled, and probably agreed to things I will regret later. Inside, I was falling apart. Outside, I was muted. The meeting lasted 30 minutes but felt like 10 hours. As soon as it finished, I opened the camera feed again. I wish I hadn't. The living room was crowded. People were scattered across the furniture as if it belonged to them. The lights were dimmed, soft and rhythmic music played, and laughter filled the air. Someone lit a candle. I spotted a man in just boxer briefs lounging on my sofa. A woman sat cross-legged on the floor, opening a small black case. A handful of unmistakably adult items were spread across my coffee table. Something made of leather, something shiny, and something that moved. Someone else walked barefoot through the hallway, clutching what seemed to be a blindfold. She laughed softly as she passed by the bookshelf. The very bookshelf where I had hidden the camera. She glanced right at it, not looking inside, only near it. Yet, I felt a chill. This is my home. This is my couch. This is my table. I eat my meals there. I place my coffee cups there. And now this. I shut the laptop quickly, as if it were burning me. I continued staring at the ceiling when my phone rang again. An unfamiliar number. I answered regardless. Hello, is this Emily Kessler? Yes, it is. This is Officer Brennan from Maple Glen Police Department. We are responding to a report about a gathering at your house tonight. Are you aware if anyone is currently on the premises? I swallowed hard. No, I am in Boise. I am not home. Several people on site have expressed worry after finding surveillance devices inside the house. Some were unaware they were being filmed. Your parents are reportedly there and claim they had permission to use the place. They did not. You are listed as the homeowner, right? Yes. Can you confirm if permission was given to host any event at your residence? Number. I told my mother she could water the plants. I even messaged her about it. That is all. Do you still have that message? Yes, I can send it. All right. You might be contacted for a formal statement. At this moment, you are not facing legal issues, but please know that there could be zoning or licensing matters under review. All right. We decided to follow up. He ended the call. I didn't hang up myself. I just remained frozen, staring at the screen, still trying to grasp the reality that I hadn't imagined everything. I was desperately attempting to erase those disturbing images from my mind, fully aware that I never would be able to. About 15 minutes after contacting the police ended, my phone rang again. This time, it was my mother. I nearly hesitated to answer. I stared at the screen as if it could somehow harm me. But curiosity always wins over fear. Plus, I had not heard her voice since witnessing people undress in my own living room and arranging bondage equipment on my coffee table. So I picked up. Sweetheart. Hey, listen. Just tell the police you knew. Okay? That was how she started. Not by asking if I was all right, or insisting that things were not as they appeared. Not even pleading for me not to be angry. Just that I should say I was aware. I blinked, confused. What? That you gave us permission to use the house? It was only a small gathering like in the old days. Old days? She explained about community events and people they trusted. She insisted it wasn't anything dangerous and urged me to just say it was all right, please. I stood up and walked toward the window in my hotel room. From there, I could see the parking lot, a minivan parked carelessly across two spots, and a woman struggling to free her toddler from a scarf. Everything appeared ordinary, painfully ordinary. Mom, I said quietly, what exactly were you doing in my house? There was silence. I saw people. I saw what was on my rug, the table, the sofa. What the hell was that? She replied, we can explain. Just not right now. Number? No, I couldn't accept that. What were you doing? It was not against the law. We did not harm anyone. It was a private matter. Yet someone blew it out of proportion and contacted the authorities because they discovered a camera. Yes, a camera I had placed inside my own home because you used it without informing me. Another pause. Then my father's voice spoke softly, quietly. We thought you would not understand. So, you chose not to give me a chance. We assumed you would try to interfere. You were correct. I ended the call before they could respond further. I did not slam the phone or throw it. I merely laid it down on the edge of the table and stared at it as if it had become someone else's concern. 3 days later, I received a message request on Facebook from someone I had not contacted for at least 10 years. One of my parents' old acquaintances, with gray hair, a blog about poetry, probably still drinking chamomile tea as part of their character. The message was calm, remorseful, almost overly gentle. I was unaware they did not have your consent. We were told you knew about it and were at ease with it. I'm truly sorry. If it helps, here's the website they used to coordinate everything. There was a link. No name, no logo, only a sleek, private-looking URL. I clicked on it. The website was striking in a sterile, excessively polished manner that made you feel like you might unintentionally join a cult. Soft colors, soothing fonts, phrases such as freedom through trust, rotating safe spaces, carefully selected gatherings, suggested contributions of 400, 850, 120, and a schedule of events. Each date corresponded with one. During my business trips, every place was mentioned vaguely, yet I recognized the images. One displayed a wine glass resting on a table I had personally restored during the lockdown. Another showed the rug my mother always claimed was too simple. They had not borrowed my home. They had made it the highlight. There was a host's pseudonym. The email connected to it contained my mother's old nickname from her hippie era, but simply spelled backward. I shut the laptop, not out of anger or fear, but with a sense of closure. They appeared 4 days later, with no messages or notices, only a sudden knock on the door and the weary sounds of 2 people trying to hide their anxiety. You did not have to escalate this, my mother said the moment I opened the door. We could have resolved it within the family. I did not escalate anything, I replied. One of your guests called the police. I was unaware it was even happening, yet you shared everything with them. I told the truth. We were attempting to support your sister because she needed help. You said no. She needed a larger home, she said. I responded that did not give her the right to claim mine. We could not use ours, my father contributed. People here know us. Yours was anonymous. Anonymous? I questioned. That is what I am now. You were away almost constantly. The house was vacant. It was not vacant, I insisted. It was mine. They did not answer. They left quietly, the same way they had arrived. The aftermath was not noisy. It was even worse. Licensing violations, zoning issues, and complaints followed. They received a cease and desist from the city, along with a letter from the IRS inquiring about income that had not been reported. One of the visitors filed a lawsuit against them for emotional harm and violation of privacy. They did not face imprisonment, yet suffered financially and socially in silence. The website was taken down, the network went silent, and the friends they used to meet with ceased answering their calls. Then Mike's sister reached out, saying, I hope you're satisfied. They tried to help me, but now Dan and I have to relocate because they can no longer assist with the mortgage. So you're accusing me? You did not need to escalate things to such extremes. You could have kept them safe. They used my home without asking for consent. They claimed they did it for my sake. No, they acted without my permission. They never asked me or you either, right? That was the end of that. I sold the house without announcing it, told no one, hired a realtor, packed up the proof, and signed the contracts. The new place is smaller, quieter, And farther away, it smells like fresh paint and freedom from other people's choices. I did not leave a key hidden or give a copy to anyone. They called once, maybe twice. No messages, just ignored calls I let go unanswered. Eventually, they gave up. There was no dramatic finale or desperate apology, only a silent acknowledgement among those who realize when something ends and refuse to voice it. We did not have a falling out. We simply stopped pretending to orbit each other. They believed I would defend them, but I did not. I believed they would keep me safe. However, it became clear that we were both mistaken. That is the story of what occurred. Some people claimed I reacted excessively. Others argued I was too lenient towards them. What is your opinion? Did I push things too far, or did I not go far enough? Share your thoughts in the comments below.